Hello, and welcome to another episode of Fluent English Journey. This is the channel where we talk about real-life topics that help you improve your English and your mindset at the same time. I'm really happy you're here. Today, we're talking about a very important phrase: honesty is the best policy. You have probably heard this saying many times. But what does it really mean? Is honesty always the best choice? And if it is, why does it sometimes feel so hard to be honest, even with ourselves? Let's start with the phrase itself. Honesty is the best policy is an old proverb. It means that being truthful, telling the truth, and acting with integrity is the smartest way to live. Being honest doesn't always mean life is easy. Sometimes honesty can feel uncomfortable or even scary. But in the long run, honesty brings peace, trust, and respect, both from others and from yourself. Think about this for a moment. Have you ever told a small lie just to avoid hurting someone's feelings? Or maybe you didn't tell the truth because you were afraid of getting into trouble. We all do this. It's human. But what happens after that? How do you feel? Sometimes lies bring guilt or even make others lose trust in us. Being honest takes courage. It takes self-respect. It means being real, even when it's hard. In today's episode, we're going to explore why honesty matters, how it helps us grow, and why it can make our relationships stronger and our lives more peaceful. Think about this too. Have you ever been afraid to tell the truth because you didn't want to be judged? Or maybe you weren't sure how someone would react? What about being honest with yourself about your goals, your mistakes, or your feelings? These questions are not easy, but they are very important. They help us understand what honesty really means. Honesty is not about saying everything that comes to your mind without thinking. It's not about being harsh or rude. It's about balance. It's about speaking the truth with kindness and learning how to live with integrity. Honesty is a practice we can grow over time. It comes from making choices, being aware of ourselves, and learning from experience. So, take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's explore this together. Honesty is not just about right and wrong. It is about connection, character, and creating a life you can be proud of. Now, let's really think about what honesty means. Most people might say it just means not lying. And yes, that's true. But honesty is more than just saying the truth. It's about being real. It's about being clear and being yourself, even when it is uncomfortable. Honesty is not only about facts, like saying, the meeting is at 10 a.m. or I finished the report yesterday. Those are factual truths and they matter. But honesty also means being truthful about your feelings, your thoughts, and who you really are. It's about showing your real self to the world, but there is another kind of honesty that is often even harder to practice. This is called emotional honesty. Emotional honesty is when you express how you really feel. For example, you might say, "I'm feeling overwhelmed. That comment hurt my feelings. I'm not okay right now." These are not facts, they are feelings. And for many people, this kind of honesty is the hardest because it makes us feel vulnerable. When we admit our fears, disappointments, or needs, we risk being judged or misunderstood. But without emotional honesty, it is very hard to build real relationships. It's hard to trust others, and it's hard for them to trust us. Being emotionally honest means you are not pretending to be okay when you're not. You are not smiling when you feel like crying. You are being real, and in today's world, that takes strength. Now, let's think about honesty in different areas of life. 1. Honesty in relationships. Honesty is the foundation of trust. Imagine a friend who always tells you what you want to hear, even if it's not true. At first, it might feel good, but over time you might think, can I really count on this person? A real friend will speak the truth with kindness. They will share what they really think and feel. This is what makes relationships deep and meaningful. 2. Honesty at work. Honesty at work is very important too. Being honest at work doesn't mean saying everything on your mind without thinking. It means being professional, clear, and reliable. For example, if you make a mistake, it's better to admit it and take responsibility rather than hide it. Mistakes happen, but honesty shows that you care about your work and are willing to learn. Honesty at work also means giving feedback respectfully. Don't just say what others want to hear, speak the truth when needed, but do it kindly. 3. Honesty with yourself. Perhaps the hardest honesty is self-honesty. This means facing your reality, your strengths, weaknesses, habits, and dreams. It means asking yourself hard questions. Am I doing what I really want? Am I proud of how I act when no one is watching? Am I avoiding something because I'm afraid? These questions are not easy. Answering them requires courage. But this kind of honesty is where personal growth begins. Without it, we stay stuck in patterns that don't serve us. So you can see, honesty is more than just not lying. It's about showing up as your true self in your words, actions, and emotions. It's about saying what you mean, meaning what you say, and having the courage to speak your truth, even when it's difficult. When we're honest in all areas of life, we open the door to deeper connections, clearer communication, a more peaceful inner world. Yes, honesty is not always easy. Sometimes it feels risky. Sometimes it can be messy. But in the end, honesty is the bridge between who we are and who we want to become. It is the tool we use to shape a life that feels real, not just comfortable. Before we move on, think about this. Where in your life could you be more honest? Maybe with someone close to you, maybe at work, or maybe just in how you speak to yourself. Remember, honesty is not about being perfect. It is about being real. And being real is where true change begins. What does honesty is the best policy really mean? Let's start by thinking about the phrase that is the heart of today's episode. Honesty is the best policy. You have probably heard this saying many times before. But what does it really mean, especially in our daily lives? At its simplest, this phrase tells us that being honest, telling the truth, acting with integrity, and being sincere is the smartest and most reliable way to live. The word policy here means a rule or a way of behaving. So this saying suggests that honesty should guide our actions. It is advice passed down through generations, encouraging people to choose truthfulness over lying or hiding the truth. This proverb has a long history. It likely comes from Old English and European traditions, and similar sayings exist in many cultures worldwide. Honesty is a common value in stories, religious teachings, and moral lessons. In ancient times, philosophers and religious leaders often emphasized honesty as a foundation for good character. This shows us that honesty is not just a personal choice, it is also a social and cultural value that helps people live together peacefully. When we say honesty is the best policy, we connect honesty to something bigger: trust and character. Trust is like a bridge between people. When someone is honest, that bridge becomes strong. Others can rely on them, feel safe sharing their thoughts, and believe their words. Trust is essential in all kinds of relationships, family, friends, work, or community. Without honesty, trust breaks down and relationships become weak or even fall apart. Character is another important idea. Being honest shows that you respect yourself and others. It shows responsibility, reliability, and integrity. Over time, honesty builds a person's reputation and dignity. People remember those who speak the truth and act with integrity. But here is an important question. Is honesty always easy? Sometimes telling the truth can be difficult. It can make us feel vulnerable, nervous, or scared. We might worry about hurting someone's feelings or causing conflict. Sometimes we wonder if honesty is always the right thing to do. For example, should we always share the full truth if it might upset someone? Or is it sometimes better to speak gently? These are important questions because honesty is not just about facts. It is also about how we express the truth in a way that respects others and ourselves. Honesty includes speaking openly, but also kindly. It is a balance between being truthful and being thoughtful. So, as we explore honesty today, keep this in mind. How can we be honest in a way that builds trust and shows good character, even when it is hard? That is both the challenge and the gift of honesty. The benefits of being honest. Now that we understand what honesty really means, let's look at why it is so important. Why do people say that honesty makes life better? One of the biggest reasons is that honesty builds trust. And trust is the foundation of every strong relationship. When you are honest with people, family, friends, coworkers, they know they can rely on you. They feel safe sharing their thoughts and feelings. Honest communication prevents misunderstandings and keeps relationships strong. Honesty also strengthens your character. When you act honestly, you show that you are responsible and reliable. You are someone who keeps promises, admits mistakes, and treats others with respect. Over time, this builds self-respect and respect from others. Being honest also brings peace of mind. When you tell the truth and live with integrity, you don't carry guilt or worry about being caught in a lie. Life feels simpler, calmer, and more genuine. In addition, honesty helps you grow as a person. Being honest with yourself about your strengths, weaknesses, goals, and feelings allows you to make better decisions and improve your life. It is a key to personal growth and long-term success. In short, honesty is not always easy, but it is always valuable. It creates trust, builds character, brings peace, and helps us grow. Honesty matters in all kinds of relationships, friendships, marriages, business partnerships, or even the connection you have with yourself. When someone is honest with you, you feel safe. You know where you stand. You don't have to guess what they are really thinking or worry that they are hiding something. And when you are honest with others, they are more likely to be honest with you in return. This creates a healthy space where people can speak openly, solve problems faster, and support each other better. Honesty also boosts confidence. That might sound surprising at first, but think about it. When you are honest, you are being real. You're not pretending or playing a role. You are standing in your truth, and that takes courage. Every time you speak your truth, even when it's hard, you remind yourself that your voice matters. You start to believe in your own values and choices. That self-respect grows little by little, and over time, your confidence becomes stronger. Even if people don't always agree with you, they often respect your honesty. And most importantly, you respect yourself. Another powerful benefit of honesty is that it can reduce stress and anxiety. Have you ever told a lie and then felt nervous about being caught? Maybe you kept replaying the moment in your head, wondering what might happen. That mental stress builds up over time. But when you tell the truth, there is nothing to hide, nothing to remember or cover up. You are free. You can sleep better at night and feel more at peace. Even when telling the truth is uncomfortable in the moment, it usually brings relief afterward, like a weight being lifted off your shoulders. Let me share a quick story from my own life. Years ago, a close friend invited me to help with a group project. At the time, I said yes because I didn't want to disappoint them. But deep down, I knew I didn't have the time or energy to commit. So I made excuses, delayed the work, and eventually things got messy. Finally, I decided to come clean. I told my friend the truth that I had overpromised and felt bad about it. To my surprise, they weren't angry. They were actually thankful that I finally opened up. That honest conversation helped us rebuild trust, and we are still friends today. If I had been honest from the beginning, we could have avoided a lot of tension. That experience taught me something important. The truth might hurt for a moment, but dishonesty can hurt much longer. Of course, being honest doesn't mean everything will be easy. People may not always react the way you hope. But in most cases, honesty strengthens relationships instead of weakening them. It gives people the chance to understand the real you, and that is something worth sharing. So, as we continue this episode, remember, honesty is more than a moral rule. It is a tool, one that helps us connect, grow, and live with more confidence, trust, and peace. The cost of dishonesty. Now, let's look at the other side of the story. What happens when we are not honest? What is the real cost of lying? Even small lies can cause problems. Many people think that small lies don't matter. We often call them white lies. These are harmless lies we tell to avoid hurting someone's feelings. For example, saying, "I love your cooking," even if the food wasn't very good. Saying, "I'm fine," when we are clearly not. White lies might seem polite or kind, but if they become a habit, they can lead to bigger problems. Another type of dishonesty is half-truths. Half-truths include some truth, but leave out important information. For example, you might tell your boss, "I've started the project," but you don't mention that you only wrote the title. Technically it's true, but is it honest? Half-truths can be just as damaging as lies because they create confusion. People trust your words, but don't get the full picture. There is also a lie of omission. This happens when you stay silent instead of saying something important. For example, if your friend is making a big decision and you know something that could change their mind, but you choose not to say it. You didn't lie with words, but you didn't tell the truth either. Sometimes silence can speak louder than words. All these types of dishonesty, white lies, half-truths, and lies of omission can hurt people. They create distance, damage trust, and often leave you feeling anxious, guilty, or uncomfortable inside. Let me share a short story to show this. A few years ago, I agreed to go to a coworker's birthday dinner. But on the day of the event, I was tired and didn't feel like going. Instead of telling the truth, I made up a small excuse and said I had a family emergency. At first, it felt easy. No conflict, no questions. But a few days later, that coworker asked how everything went with my family. I had to keep lying to keep the story going. One small lie led to more lies. Eventually, I felt embarrassed and distant. The friendship never felt the same, not because they knew I lied, but because I knew. That's the thing about dishonesty. Even if no one catches you, you know the truth. Carrying that secret can feel heavy. Lies take mental energy. You have to remember what you said, who you said it to, and how to act around them. That pressure builds stress and anxiety over time. Socially, dishonesty breaks connections. When people find out you lied even once, they might start questioning everything you say. They might wonder, what else aren't they telling me? Rebuilding trust is very hard. It's like breaking a mirror. You can fix it, but the cracks are still there. Emotionally, lying can hurt your self-respect. You may start seeing yourself as someone who avoids the truth or hides behind stories. If dishonesty becomes a pattern, it becomes hard to feel confident or proud of who you are. Of course, nobody is perfect. We have all told a lie at some point, to protect ourselves, avoid trouble, or make someone feel better. But the key question is this lie really helping, or is it just making things easier for now? Often, we lie because we want to avoid discomfort. But that comfort usually doesn't last long. So next time you feel the urge to hide the truth, even a little, pause and ask yourself, what's the cost of this lie? How would it feel to be honest instead? Because in the end, even small lies can lead to big problems. And telling the truth, though hard, often leads to freedom. Why is it sometimes so hard to be honest? If honesty brings trust, confidence, and peace of mind, then why do so many of us struggle with it? Why is it sometimes so hard to tell the truth, to be honest with others, and even with ourselves? Here are some common reasons. 1. Fear of judgment. We worry that if people know how we really feel or what we have done, they might see us differently. They might criticize us, laugh at us, or think we are weak. So instead of speaking openly, we stay quiet or say what we think others want to hear. This fear can be very strong, especially in families, workplaces, or cultures where appearances matter a lot. 2. Fear of conflict. Being honest sometimes means saying something uncomfortable. You might need to give feedback to a colleague or tell a friend that their behavior hurt you. This honesty can create tension or disagreement. Many people try to avoid it at all costs. But avoiding conflict often creates frustration inside. We smile on the outside, but feel tired, sad, or even angry on the inside. Over time, avoiding conflict can damage relationships more than facing it with honest communication. 3. Perfectionism. Some people feel they must be perfect all the time, or at least look perfect. When we hold ourselves to impossible standards, it becomes harder to admit mistakes, doubts, or weaknesses. Saying, "I don't know," or "I need help" can feel like failure. But being human means being imperfect, and being honest about that is what makes us real and relatable. 4. People-pleasing. Some people put others' feelings or opinions above their own just to keep everyone happy. People-pleasers often say yes when they mean no or stay silent when something doesn't feel right. This behavior may come from childhood, culture, or personal experiences. While kindness is a strength, constantly hiding your true feelings to avoid upsetting others can leave you feeling invisible, stressed, and unfulfilled. 5. Imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is when you feel like a fraud, that you don't deserve your success, or that people will discover you're not as capable as they think. When you feel this way, it's hard to be honest about your struggles because you're afraid of being found out. So instead, you hide your challenges and pretend everything is under control. But this only increases pressure and keeps you stuck in a cycle of fear and self-doubt. All of these challenges, fear of judgment, fear of conflict, perfectionism, people-pleasing, and imposter syndrome, are very real. They can make honesty feel risky or even scary. But here's something important to remember. Being honest doesn't mean being unkind. You can speak your truth with care. You can admit your flaws and still be strong. The more you practice honesty, the less frightening it becomes. Think about this for a moment. What stops you from being real with others or with yourself? Is it fear, pressure, guilt, or the habit of always saying yes, even when your heart says no? Whatever the reason, you are not alone. Everyone faces moments when honesty feels hard. The first step to change is simply becoming aware of what is holding us back. Once you understand why honesty is difficult, you can start making different choices, one small step at a time. Honesty with yourself, the foundation of growth. Now, let's turn inward to one of the most important and sometimes hardest types of honesty, being honest with yourself. This is where true growth begins. Being honest with yourself means developing self-awareness. It means taking time to face the truth about who you are, what you want, and what might be holding you back. It's about looking deeply at your thoughts, feelings, habits, and actions, even the parts you might not want to see. This kind of honesty is not easy. It takes courage to look at your flaws, the parts of yourself that may cause problems or keep you stuck. Maybe you have habits like procrastination or reacting quickly with anger. Maybe you avoid difficult conversations or feel afraid to try new things. Being honest means recognizing these parts of yourself without making excuses or blaming others. It also means being clear about your goals and desires. Sometimes we pretend to want something because it sounds good or because others expect it. Real honesty is asking yourself, what do I really want? What makes me happy? Then being brave enough to follow that truth, even if it is different from what others expect. Owning your mistakes. Another important part of self-honesty is owning your mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, it is part of being human. But some people hide their mistakes or blame others, which blocks growth. When you own your mistakes, you accept responsibility and can learn from them. You might say, I was wrong. I didn't handle that well. This kind of honesty creates space for change and improvement. Here's a question to reflect on. Can we truly change if we aren't honest about what needs changing? It's hard to fix something if we don't admit it's broken. Without self-honesty, we may repeat the same patterns or avoid important decisions. But facing the truth, even when it is uncomfortable, opens the door to real transformation. For example, imagine someone who wants to improve their English, but keeps making excuses. I don't have time. I'm too old to learn. Without honesty, they may not realize that fear or self-doubt is the real reason holding them back. But if they face those feelings, they can find solutions, build confidence, and take real steps forward. Self-honesty also means kindness. Being honest with yourself is not about beating yourself up or being overly critical. It's about being your own best friend. Notice where you can improve, but also celebrate your strengths and successes. Self-honesty is a balance. It allows you to see where change is needed while also appreciating who you are. When you combine honesty with kindness toward yourself, you create the foundation for growth, confidence, and real happiness. Self-honesty, the foundation for honesty with others. In many ways, being honest with yourself is the foundation for being honest with others. If we cannot be truthful with ourselves, it is difficult to be truthful in our relationships, at work, or in daily life. But when we practice self-awareness and self-acceptance, honesty flows more naturally in every part of life. So today, as you reflect, ask yourself, what truths am I avoiding? What parts of myself do I need to face with kindness and courage? Remember, growth is a journey, and every step begins with honesty, especially the honesty we give ourselves. The long-term power of being honest. When we think about honesty, it's easy to focus on the short-term challenges, the fear, difficulty, or discomfort of telling the truth. But honesty also has powerful long-term effects. Staying honest, even when it's hard, builds something strong and valuable inside us and around us. Let me share a story. A colleague of mine, let's call her Maria, worked in a busy office. One day, she noticed a mistake in a project report that could have caused problems for the entire team. Instead of ignoring it or covering it up, she took responsibility and told her manager about the error. At first, some people thought she might get into trouble. But over time, everyone saw that Maria's honesty showed integrity, a deep commitment to doing the right thing. Her honesty earned her respect and trust from her team, and she became a valued leader. Maria's story shows that honesty creates consistency in how others see us, which is key to building a good reputation. Emotional benefits of honesty. Honesty also gives us important emotional benefits. When we live honestly, we experience peace of mind. We don't have to worry about hiding things or remembering lies. That feeling of relief is powerful. Being honest also builds confidence. When we speak our truth, we start to trust ourselves more. We know we are living according to our values and beliefs. This alignment between what we say and what we truly feel creates authenticity, a sense of being real, which is deeply satisfying. Accountability and integrity. Another important part of honesty is accountability. This means taking responsibility for our words and actions. When we are accountable, we admit mistakes, learn from them, and try to improve. Accountability shows maturity and strength. People respect those who own their actions instead of blaming others or making excuses. So, honesty is not just about one moment of telling the truth. It is about building habits of integrity, consistency, and accountability that shape our character and the way others experience us. Over time, these habits create lasting respect and meaningful connections. Reflection questions. As you think about honesty in your own life, ask yourself, who do I admire for their honesty? Why do I admire them? What qualities do they show that I would like to develop in myself? Remember, honesty is a choice we make every day. It may not always be easy, but the long-term rewards, peace, confidence, respect, are well worth the effort. When honesty hurts, How to be kind yet truthful. Sometimes honesty can hurt. Speaking the truth can make someone feel uncomfortable, sad, or even angry. But honesty does not have to be cruel. You can be kind and truthful at the same time. The key is how you say it. Be gentle and considerate. Focus on your feelings rather than blaming the other person. Speak from the heart, not just from your head. Being honest with care shows respect for both yourself and the other person. It allows you to share the truth while keeping the relationship healthy. When honesty hurts, how to be kind yet truthful. We've talked a lot about why honesty is important for building trust, living with confidence, and creating strong relationships. But let's be real, sometimes honesty hurts. This is one of the biggest challenges we face. How can we tell the truth without being unkind? There is a big difference between being honest and being harsh. Some people use truth like a weapon. They speak in a way that is too direct, too cold, or even disrespectful. They might say, "I'm just being honest," but really, they're avoiding responsibility for how their words affect others. This is why many people fear honesty, not because of the truth itself, but because of how it is delivered. Tactful honesty, truth with compassion. This is where tactful honesty comes in, the ability to be honest with compassion. A good way to think about it is truth with love. It means telling the truth to help, not hurt. It means choosing your words carefully so the message is honest and respectful. Another way to think about it, say it in a way they can hear. If someone feels attacked, they may stop listening. If they feel understood, they are more open to your message. Example of kind honesty. Imagine a friend is practicing for a job interview and asks for your feedback. You notice they keep using filler words like, or, and they don't make good eye contact. You could say, "You sounded nervous and didn't look confident at all." That is honest, but it might feel discouraging. Or you could say, "I think you have strong ideas and clearly care about the job." If you work a little on cutting out some filler words and keeping eye contact, your confidence will really shine through. This is still honest, but it is kind. You are not avoiding the truth. You are delivering it in a way that helps, not harms. This is what we mean when we say, speak your truth. Don't throw it. How to practice tactful honesty. Being tactful takes practice. It's not about lying or avoiding difficult topics. It's about thinking before you speak, considering timing and tone, thinking about the other person's feelings. Ask yourself, what is the goal of my honesty? Am I helping this person grow or just trying to prove something? Sometimes the most honest thing we can do is say something uncomfortable, but say it gently. When we speak with empathy, honesty becomes a gift, not a weapon. Reflect for a moment. Have you learned to say difficult things gently? Have you given or received honest feedback? What made the experience positive or painful? What would you do differently next time? Kind honesty creates deeper understanding, shows emotional intelligence, and strengthens relationships instead of breaking them. Like any skill, it improves with practice. Cultural views on honesty. Is it always the best policy? As we continue exploring honesty, remember that honesty is not the same everywhere in the world. Different cultures have different ideas about honesty and how it should be expressed. What might be seen as honest and direct in one culture could be considered rude or disrespectful in another. In some cultures, politeness and harmony are more important than blunt truth. People may avoid direct criticism or uncomfortable truths to protect others' feelings and maintain good relationships. So, the question is honesty always the best policy? And does honesty always look the same in every culture? Cultural views on honesty, saving face and radical honesty. The idea of honesty is not the same everywhere. In many cultures, honesty is connected to saving face. Saving face means protecting someone's dignity or reputation. It is about avoiding embarrassment or shame for yourself and for others. For example, Imagine a friend cooks a meal that isn't very good. Instead of saying, "This doesn't taste good," you might say, "Thank you. I appreciate your effort." In many Asian cultures, saving face is very important. Being too direct or critical can cause loss of face, which may lead to discomfort or conflict. On the other hand, some people believe in radical honesty. Radical honesty means being completely honest no matter what. You say exactly what you think and feel, without sugarcoating or avoiding difficult topics. Radical honesty can build deep trust because nothing is hidden. But it can also cause conflict or hurt feelings if not expressed carefully. Both saving face and radical honesty have their advantages and challenges. Saving face keeps peace and respect in social situations, but can sometimes prevent important truths from being shared. Radical honesty encourages openness and authenticity, but can feel too harsh or blunt. Even within one culture, people may have different opinions about when to be direct and when to be gentle. Reflecting on your own culture. Think about your own culture or upbringing. How is honesty viewed where you come from? Do people speak openly and directly, or do they use softer language to protect feelings? When is it okay to tell the truth? When might it be better to be polite or careful with words? Understanding cultural differences helps us communicate better and respect how others express honesty. Knowing these differences does not mean avoiding honesty. Instead, it means finding a way to be honest and respectful, speaking our truth in a way that builds connection, not conflict. This might mean choosing words carefully, listening well, paying attention to how others respond. Honesty is a skill, not just a rule. It takes practice, empathy, and cultural awareness. By learning these skills, we become more thoughtful communicators. Ask yourself, how can I be honest in a way that respects others and myself? This question can guide you to deeper understanding and stronger relationships, no matter where you are in the world. Wrapping up, the power of honesty. As we finish this episode, let's look back at everything we've talked about. Honesty is much more than just telling the truth. It's about being real with ourselves and others, building trust, and living with courage and self-respect. Honesty helps us connect deeply with people, grow in confidence, and find inner peace. At the same time, honesty is not always easy. It takes courage to be honest when we're afraid of judgment or conflict. It requires self-awareness to admit mistakes and face fears. Honesty doesn't always mean saying everything bluntly. It can mean choosing the right words, being kind, and respecting others' feelings. Even with these challenges, honesty is always worth it. When we choose honesty, we choose freedom from secrets, worry, and the stress of hiding parts of ourselves. Growth and connection, learning and building stronger relationships. Authenticity, living in a way that feels true to who we really are. Honesty is one of the most valuable qualities we can practice in life. It is not always easy, but it is always worth it. Your honesty challenge. So, here's a simple challenge for you this week. Try to be a little more honest in one area of your life. Maybe it's being honest with a friend about how you really feel. Maybe it's admitting a mistake at work. Maybe it's asking for help when you need it. Or maybe it's being honest with yourself about a goal or a fear you've been avoiding. It doesn't have to be a big moment. Even small steps toward honesty can make a big difference. As you think about this challenge, ask yourself, what's one truth I've been avoiding? What would happen if I finally said it out loud? Imagine the relief you might feel, the space it could create for change, and the new possibilities that honesty can open. Closing thoughts. Thank you for joining me today on Fluent English Journey. I hope this episode has inspired you to see honesty as a tool for growth, connection, and freedom. Remember, every journey starts with a single step. Today, you've taken a step toward living more honestly. I look forward to being with you again soon for our next episode. Until then, be kind to yourself. Stay curious. Keep growing your English and your life.